You're standing in front of a microwave, watching the numbers count down from 5 minutes. You check your phone. Only 9 seconds have passed. It feels like something has gone wrong with time itself. But nothing has gone wrong. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. And the real reason those 5 minutes feel like an hour is far stranger than simple boredom. That should sound impossible. A clock runs at the same speed no matter who's watching it. But your experience of that clock does not, and the gap between the two is measurable, predictable, and has almost nothing to do with how bored you actually are. Psychologist Richard Bloch has spent decades studying exactly this gap, building on what researchers call the attentional gate model of time perception. The idea works like this. Somewhere in your brain, an internal pacemaker fires off small pulses at a steady rate, and a separate mental counter tallies them up. The more pulses that get counted, the longer a stretch of time feels. Here's the part that explains your microwave. How many of those pulses actually reach the counter depends entirely on how much attention you're giving to time itself. When you stare at a countdown, checking it again and again, you're propping the gate wide open, and pulses flood through almost unfiltered. When your attention is absorbed somewhere else entirely, the gate narrows. Fewer pulses get through, and the counter ends up lower than the clock on the wall. 9 seconds of actively watching a countdown can generate the same subjective weight as several minutes of doing almost anything else. You're not imagining the drag. You're running a different internal clock, one that speeds up specifically because you decided to watch it. This isn't just a lab curiosity. Business researcher David Maister formalized it into what's now called the psychology of waiting lines, and one principle sits at the center of almost everything he found. Occupied time feels shorter than unoccupied time, even when the clock says they're identical. An airport famously ran into this by accident. Complaints about long waits at baggage claim kept coming in, even after staffing was increased and the actual wait time dropped. The fix that finally worked wasn't making bags arrive faster. It was moving the arrival gates farther from baggage claim, so passengers spent more of their wait walking instead of standing still, watching an empty carousel. Total time barely changed. Complaints nearly disappeared. Walking wasn't shorter. It just filled the attentional gate with something other than the passage of time itself. The exact mechanism Bloch's pulses predict, showing up in the real world instead of a laboratory. Maister's research also found that uncertain waits feel dramatically longer than waits with a known endpoint, and anxious waits feel longer than calm ones, even at exactly the same duration. A 5-minute wait with no idea when it will end drags far worse than a 5-minute countdown you can actually watch tick toward zero, because uncertainty forces your attention to keep checking over and over for information that isn't there yet, propping that attentional gate open even wider than simple boredom does on its own. Here's the twist that connects this to something much larger than microwaves and baggage claims. Neuroscientist David Eagleman studies the opposite extreme. Moments of genuine danger, the kind where people swear time slowed down and they watched every detail unfold in slow motion. In 2007, Eagleman tested this directly by having volunteers wear a device strapped to their wrist during a terrifying free-fall ride, a device flashing numbers too fast for a normal brain to read, to see whether people in a state of fear could actually perceive more information per second than usual. They couldn't. Their real-time perception wasn't sped up at all. What was different was what happened afterward. The fear response had triggered their brains into laying down an unusually dense trail of memory. When they later replayed the event in their minds, that denser memory made the experience feel, in hindsight, like it had lasted far longer than it actually did. So your microwave and a genuine emergency are, underneath the surface, running the same basic machinery. One inflates your sense of time moving forward, in the moment, by keeping the attentional gate propped wide open on something that isn't changing. The other inflates your sense of time after the fact, by packing an ordinary few seconds with an unusually thick stack of memory. Neither one means time actually moved differently. Your brain just built a different record of it, for entirely different reasons. There's a third state worth knowing because it explains the opposite feeling almost everyone has had. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent much of his career studying what he named flow, the state you enter when a task demands just enough of your full attention that nothing is left over to notice anything else, including the passage of time. In flow, the attentional gate isn't propped open on a clock, and it isn't overloaded with fear-driven memory encoding either. It's simply busy, fully occupied elsewhere, on the task itself, which is exactly why 2 hours spent absorbed in something you love can disappear almost without a trace, while 5 minutes standing in front of a beeping appliance can feel like it's never going to end. 3 completely different experiences. Watching a clock, surviving a scare, losing yourself in something absorbing, and underneath all 3, the same single mechanism deciding how thick or thin your record of that stretch of time turns out to be. Here's where this stops being a curiosity about microwaves and starts being about your own day. Think about how differently your phone behaves in each of these states. Open a short-form video app while you're waiting for something boring, and the minutes vanish. Not because the wait got shorter, but because each new clip keeps refilling your attentional gate with something other than the clock, over and over, faster than you can even notice it happening. Put the phone down and stare at that same wait with nothing to absorb your attention, and it drags exactly the way Block's model predicts, because now there's nothing left for your attention to do except watch time pass, pulse by pulse. This is also, quietly, why so many waiting rooms, checkout lines, and elevators now play music, show a screen, mount a mirror on the wall, or run a looping display. None of it makes the wait shorter. All of it is doing the same thing that moved those airport arrival gates farther away, giving your attention something to hold besides the second hand, so the gate stays busy on anything other than the raw passage of time. You didn't choose this system any more than you chose your heartbeat, the pulses your brain counts, the memory density fear can trigger, the total absorption of a flow state. All of it runs quietly in the background of every ordinary minute of your life, deciding after the fact how long that minute is allowed to feel. So the next time you're standing in front of a microwave, watching the numbers count down from 5 minutes, checking your phone to find only 9 seconds have passed, you don't have to wonder if something's gone wrong with time. Nothing has gone wrong. You're just watching your own attention decide, pulse by pulse, exactly how long this moment gets to feel.